So I'd never seen a Studio Ghibli film before, and that's not clickbait, not really. I will admit I did see like 30 minutes of Tales of Earthsea once, but since I didn't get that far into the movie, I don't really count that. Also, Tales of Earthsea isn't exactly the most critically acclaimed Studio Ghibli film. I'd always wanted to get into Studio Ghibli for a long time, and I actually did buy Blu-rays of some of their movies because I wanted to see what they were all about. I just never did. I never fully saw a Studio Ghibli film. At least, not until now. The thing is, even though I'd never seen a Studio Ghibli film before, I did know a decent amount about Studio Ghibli as a studio. I knew they put out classics like Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. I know the studio's most important figure, Hayao Miyazaki, is a world-renowned filmmaker. I know that Miyazaki went into retirement and came out of retirement, and that this is supposed to be his last movie. Apparently though, he plans to make more movies after this, so I guess maybe this isn't his last movie. Regardless, I've been hearing about The Boy and the Heron for quite some time now, and I knew that I was going to see this movie when it came out. I looked at some of the promotional material, but not too much because I didn't want the movie to be ruined for me. So I went and I saw the dubbed version of the movie in theaters, and what did I think? I really liked it, although I don't think it's for everyone. The thing I think we can all agree on is that the movie is absolutely gorgeous. It has this classical look to it that's very rare to see from an animated movie nowadays, and I'm so happy to see a movie that has this type of look to it and also feel to it. The movie feels like it came from a different time, almost like it was made 30 years ago and it just came out today. It has so much wonder and discovery to it, and I think that's one of my favorite aspects about the movie, constantly exploring new places in this world and seeing new things that just blow your mind. All these places the characters go feel so magical and alluring. The sense of wonder and discovery is something I hear Miyazaki is known for, and it makes me really want to see his other movies. I saw the movie in a theater with a really big, nice screen that had a really good sound system, and it was just great. I think this is a movie that really should be seen on the big screen if possible, because even though the movie is good on its own, I do think it does add to the experience to see this movie on a big screen. Then we get into the story. The movie is about a 12-year-old boy named Mahito who loses his mom in a fire during the war. So him and his dad move to the countryside, and his dad finds another woman, which means he now has a stepmom. At first I thought the movie was slow, almost too slow, because nothing big outside the opening really happens. While at first it kind of annoyed me, after seeing the whole movie, I'm actually really happy the movie has a slow beginning. The movie gets much more fantastical and crazy eventually, and I think having an opening that gently eases you in into everything is a really nice way to not overwhelm you. The movie starts out pretty grounded, maybe even more grounded than I expected, but the movie did get weirder and weirder, and ended up being much weirder and stranger than I expected. I knew it was going to be fantastical, but the movie is constantly throwing in new story elements just sort of out of the blue, and it does get a bit convoluted, but weirdly enough I didn't really mind that. I liked how creative the movie got, even if it all didn't make sense. I knew going in that the movie was going to be more contemplative and that I was going to touch on a lot of adult themes, and it does, and I like that about the movie. I like the way that the movie dealt with grief. It deals with it in a very mature way, but in a way that's still palatable for a child. And I really like the main character, Mahito. He's clearly been impacted by his mother's death, but the way this comes across is that he seems to be numb to what happens, and he doesn't really show too much emotion. But that makes the moments when he does show emotion much more impactful, like when he's crying while reading his mom's journal, or when he seems legitimately disturbed when his stepmom says she hates him. The movie shows a lot of his growth in subtle ways that could be easy for some people to miss, but I think it works. The movie overall has this melancholy tone to it, but it never overdoes it. And I think it's because the movie manages to take all of these fun little moments, these cute creatures, these funny scenes, and it manages to mix all of this in with darker themes like loss, grief, and death in a way that feels natural and well-deserved. The movie definitely has a lot of depth and layers to it. I know there's so much depth and symbolism that I missed. I did only see the movie one time, and I feel like this is a movie that could definitely benefit from being seen again. The movie does constantly move from one thing to the next without fully explaining what you just saw and how it makes sense. Some things in the movie are confusing, but I'm fine with that because I don't think that's the point. Sometimes things in stories don't have to make sense to be effective. Sometimes the explanation doesn't matter. Sometimes it's the experience that matters the most, and I think that's why the story still worked for me. The movie actually reminded me of another anime, and that's Evangelion. Evangelion and The Boy and the Heron are very different from each other. Obviously, The Boy and the Heron is a very fantasy-based movie, whereas Evangelion's very sci-fi focused. artist, so we're quite different. But the reason I'm comparing The Boy and the Heron to Evangelion is that in Evangelion, the plot can get very confusing and messy, but that's okay because even if I don't understand what's happening, I'm feeling everything that's happening. I'm so engrossed in what I'm seeing that it doesn't matter that the plot's messy. Evangelion's plot can be a complete mess, and yet there are a few pieces of media that have stayed with me like Evangelion. Just to be clear, I don't think The Boy and the Heron is even as messy as Evangelion is. The movie is definitely weird, unsettling, and creepy at times, and there are moments where I wasn't even sure if I was enjoying it per se, but I do think it's a great film. I can see a lot of people not liking this movie and even hating it. Even though the movie is an animated film, I could see a lot of kids not enjoying how melancholy the movie is. It's definitely a lot darker than like your average Disney movie. The movie does have a PG-13 rating, which I think is pretty well deserved because even though the movie isn't very violent, it does have some disturbing imagery and some dark situations that I don't think you would typically see in a PG-rated film. Like I said earlier, this is my first Ghibli film, but even then it feels like Miyazaki is trying to make something more introspective. He's trying to look back on his life and also trying to pass on something for young people, trying to teach them about things like life and death, but also the good that young people can do, that they can change the world. I've heard that this movie weaves in elements from other Ghibli films, and I think that people who are fans of those other movies can really appreciate that. But even as someone who doesn't have experience of other Studio Ghibli movies, I still love this movie and I don't think I'll forget about it anytime soon. I think this is a very brilliant and moving movie, and the ending did make me really emotional. I really want to check out Studio Ghibli's other movies, and I hope Miyazaki is able to make more movies like this, because after seeing The Boy and the Heron, it's really clear that Miyazaki is a master of his craft. But that's just my opinion. What do you think about The Boy and the Heron? Did you like it as much as I did? Comment below and let me know. Also, liking the video and subscribing to the channel really helps me out, so I'd really appreciate it if you did. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.